Alright, something I never tire of is a good tire conversation. So, I'm going to go through what I've had on this Africa Twin for the past 2.5 years. Bought this bike in the middle of 2020, used, had 1,000 miles on it, so it was advantageous for me to buy that at that time because somebody had already sunk a bunch of costs into it and they were not tall enough and decided to go with a lowered BMW. So I bought the bike in 2020. It had this Bridgestone, probably a Battle Axe, Battle Axe X41R, Touring Adventure Cross. So, I kept it on for probably 3 or 4 months. I immediately was able to do a track day. Like, I picked the bike up on a Saturday and I took it for one session at PIR on Sunday. Because when I took it up, immediately from the shop, I went up in here in Portland, a place called Skyline, just to go home a long way. And I was like, oh my God, this bike is amazing. I could probably do a track day on this thing. And I was flabbergasted. 21-inch front tire, didn't think that would happen. These tires were a lot of the reason. So, really good road tires, extremely good road tires. Got squirrely, and this is probably July, early July, so it was warm. Got squirrely quick, but good road holding. Of course, it's not going to withstand the temperature. They're probably too hard for doing track days on, but the fact that you could was notable. Within a couple weeks, I did the Cascade Discovery route with them. So that is up and out of Hood River towards a riding area near Wamick. And this is all on the eastern side of Mount Hood. But in the Mount Hood wilderness, 2-track and dirt roads. Nothing extreme at all, but some spicy rocks and stuff, and these handled it fine. That said, I'm a fairly high-level rider. I'm not like an expert. I can't teach you how to do the things. I'm not going to be the person that's saying I'm the best, but I can ride this type of tire off-road. So I loved it. Thought it was great. That said, it's not something that I was going to be super confident on doing spicy off-road stuff. So a few months in, I had a trip planned to go to Texas, Central Texas, where I'm from, and go through Moab. So I put on a set of these. Goldenture GT 723R, front and rear. So I know the local distributor, the West, Goldenture West. I purchased them. They were kind of a takeoff scenario, so I didn't buy them at full pop, and they weren't fresh, and they were I don't know if they were blend or something, but bottom line, I was able to get them inexpensively. I had a fatty front, which is the taller tire, and this exact rear. I rode from here through eastern Oregon and Nevada down to Moab and popped one of these tires on, I believe it's Hurricane Pass or Hurrapass. On my way up was good. Took some pictures at the top. On my way down, I had not lowered the pressure at all, so it was like 35 to 38 psi front and rear, which normally would be good, but these are pretty soft tires. They're squishy, and I got a gash. It was 1 inch long in between blocks. So I repaired it on trail, kept riding. The hole was so big that the tube pooched out of it. So I got to Quemado, Mexico the next day, which is a long way, and it had rubbed through the tube. Had to put a patch on the inside of the tire and on the tube, and got to Roswell, New Mexico, where I was able to put on some Kenda bias ply tire that got me to College Station, Texas. So we're talking West Texas. It was record heat, so into the hundreds, and I wasn't going slow because this thing doesn't go that slow. and I chunked that tire. I'm sorry, I don't remember the type. It wasn't made for the bike. It was horrible. It was squishy and squirmy, and right off the bat, even at pressure, it felt awful on the machine because it was fully laid. The machine had full metal cases, top case, camping for 5 days level stuff. So probably weighed 650 plus pounds. The tire was horrible. Chunked every other block. It was weird how that tire had a similar layout to this, where I think it was these were okay, but these were all chunked. It was crazy. I was glad to make it home. So then I put on, while I was there, one of these. I would happen to be at a dealership in Austin. I can't remember. It's the main KTM dealership in Austin. It was the Tractionator RAL Z. I didn't have much hope for it. I was just like, well, whatever's going to get me home. That freaking tire lasted for 7,500 miles after that, which is mind-blowing. Like, it was 7,500 plus, and it still had a little nubbin on it. It was not great in the wet or cold, but not abjectly horrible. Pretty good off-road, just not gummy like one of these. So that blew my mind, and I was like, well, okay, noted, that's an amazing tire. The front tire, the golden tire that I had on for that journey, made it all the way from Portland down through Moab to College Station and back up to Salt Lake City, where it got so it was basically at base, and the only knobs left looked like this. So it was spooky as all get out on the last day from like green something near Moab up to Salt Lake City. It was there that I put on a Pirelli MT90, mainly because it was the tire that the local big dealership had. And I went to the local big dealership because I used to call on them as a regional rep for Alta. So I can't remember their name. It's a good dealer for. It's kind of south of the city of Salt Lake City. So MT90 Pirelli, which is like mostly a road tire, looks a lot like it would suit this, and indeed it did. More chunks, more blocks, and this is only on the front. So Tractionator front and that rear. Sorry, Tractionator rear and an MT90 front. And I had a blast getting home from there, even though it was very cold. Eastern Oregon, I had to avoid snow on I-84, so I actually went through the center of Oregon instead of just blasting the highway because there was snow up there. And I had a great time, even in like 30-degree weather. I was able to ride pretty hard on this tire and the MT90. I ended up getting the equivalent rear MT90 because I like the tire so much. So during whatever season, I think it was 2021, I ran the Tractionator for a really long time, got the matching MT90, did another track day at the end of the year in 2021. This time it was at the Ridge and it was in the rain to drying. Had a blast. It was great. Knee down. It was amazing. I've never thought in my life that I could do that with this machine. Pretty stoked on that. So the Pirellis were superb, and I was able to do some off-road stuff, same as this. Or if you're doing like a backcountry discovery route, the easy stuff, dirt roads, maybe a spicy single track here and there, the Pirellis were fine. I actually did some pretty gnarly stuff in the Tillamook Forest that winter, and yeah, you'd feel the thing tucking everywhere, but it was generally not as bad as you would think. Certainly nothing to the level of the Goldenture Fatty, which is just incredible, but horrible road manners, right? Horrible. Just felt like, don't know if you're gonna die every corner. Wobbly. Then, and the combination of the two was really bad. But the front for sure, because it's super tall and there's a lot of leverage on it, and it's just, even with the pressure in it, they're not made for that type of stuff. They're made to be badass off-road, and they are superb off-road. So then that led me to these, which was in January of 2022. I was working with SW Motec, and the team needed my bike to use as a display machine at the AIM Expo, which was in Las Vegas. So the guys in Germany were like, "Hey, we're partnering with Heidenau. we're just going to ship you guys a set of the new, I think these are Rangers. So the new K60 Ranger Heidenau. And you put them on and then you can keep them. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll do that. So this was in January of 2022. I was able to ride those tires. This is the rear. It's got slashes and chunks out of it, and generally it was badass. It worked, I'd say, as well or better than the Tractionator. Better turning and stability for sure. Run really high pressures, like 38 psi, and it would take it, and it was fine. Off-road, it was fine. Still have the front on it. It hasn't cupped. It has extremely good road manners. I would absolutely do a track day with one of these, not heavily, and I know I wouldn't be able to go as fast as I was with the Pirellis, but it would work. It would absolutely work. The bottom line, though, is in cold and wet, way better than the Tractionator. At some point in time during all this, I put a front Tractionator on. One of the worst tires I've ever had in my life as a motorcyclist. I would never go back to that. It was horrible. It cupped in 1,500 miles, and it felt like ass. I would rather have had the Golden Tire on, straight up. If you're going to have that much of a compromise of poor road holding or poor road feel to have a modicum of off-road, you might as well have a real off-road tire that does the thing and will grip and give you confidence than have one that's kind of eh. Whereas this thing, this will dig trenches. It's awesome. Works really well. So I would assume they're probably developing stuff, and hopefully they are, because I hated that tire so much. Whereas the front, Heidenau Ranger, excellent. Like for the general, I would call them 80-20. I don't know if 90-10, man, they're really good. They're surprisingly good. This tire lasted about 5,000 miles. And as you can see, I'm at the wear bars now. Probably could have gone another 500 miles. It looked like this for 500 miles. That's surprising how normally once you get down to this low of knob, since you're spinning the tire more, and because there's more heat generated getting straight to it, they start disappearing. I thought I was going to see cord by the end of this journey, because this was one last journey into Eastern Oregon. It was good. So no major tire issues other than I had a flat on that on my last journey through Eastern Oregon, through some rocky stuff. No fault of the tire. I think I was at like 30 psi when I started that journey. Had 30 on this, doing the same thing, and then once I had the flat, I put them both up to like 36, and then ran for the rest of the day in the same spicy stuff. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys an impression of the Heidenau Ranger, visit K60 Ranger, especially relative to the Tractionator and the Golden Tire. The tire that I would try next, if I could, would be one of whatever the Motoz. That looks like that would be a pretty good, give it a go. But if you're debating on any one of these things, and one of these is in stock, and I would absolutely recommend this for sure. Mainly because it suited the Africa Twin so well. The road holding, the turning, everything about the way it functioned. And this is on an 1100 Africa Twin, 2020 standard. So standard transmission, standard bike with a bunch of Farkles on